Fast, efficient and affordable business-grade hosting solutions, domain registration, SSL certificates and more. We also monitor and provide website security and update services, website builds, email hosting amongst other sensational products. If you have a question about your web page or your presence on the internet in general, no job is too big or too small. Visit our website today, or better yet, contact us at blueoceanwebhosting.com.au and leave your website issues to us.
Big ones, little ones, fiddly ones, powerful ones. The ones for the car or the truck, caravan, boat, mobility scooter, solar system. In fact, for any kind of battery, go straight to Battery Central Ipswich. They'll even help you when you know what you need to power but have no idea what'll do the job. Battery Central Ipswich, 280 Brisbane Street, West Ipswich, in the yellow building. Expert advice, better batteries, best prices every day. That's Battery Central Ipswich.
Welcome to episode 769 of the Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley and this is Will Tompkinson. Hey Will.
Hey mate.
Man, I've been so sick.
You sound great.
Can't believe it. People have to excuse me probably during the show. You might get a bunch of sniffling and some few coughs might sneak through before I mute them, but
It's alright, your turn this time.
the show must go on.
Yeah.
Something I got recently. Ta-da!
A black box.
A Huion tablet for drawing, and it comes with a funky pen and a pen stand. And inside the stand is really cool. You can leave your pen stuck up in there, or it's got a little groove, and you can put it on the side if you like that. And then in the base, it's got all replacement nibs that you could just push in and install a new one.
Cool.
And then the tablet is a 640p model, and it's got 6 programmable buttons down the side. So when I'm working in Aseprite to make graphics, I can use buttons 4 and 5 for going up and down through layers. Button 1's for brush. 2 is pick up a current ink color from somewhere else. And 3 is erase. So I could just press all of these and I don't need the key. In fact, I put the keyboard over here on the floor because it's a Bluetooth one anyway. So, and I could just use the tablet completely, and then when I'm finished I could just pick up the keyboard and bring it back if I need to. But it works really well. The problem is I've got to get used to not thinking like operating a mouse. Because with a mouse, if you've got the mouse on the pad, you want to move up in the top corner, you sort of push, pull through there until you get up there, and it's all muscle memory from the last 30 years of using mice. Yeah. But with a tablet, that is your whole screen that you can see in the tablet area. So if you move up in the top left, it moves up the top left of the screen, even if you've got 4K monitor like I have. I've got everything zoomed in for this particular app, so I don't have to move too much, but it just takes a bit of getting used to that. You go from here to there, not try and drag the cursor up that way.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people like the actual graphics tablets, the ones that they're like a normal tablet, but they're
LCD screen. Yeah.
That way you can actually draw on what you're doing rather than trying to translate here this movement to this section.
Yeah, my daughter's got one of those XP pen. She does art, drawing little characters and stuff for her friends and things that she really enjoys. So I thought I might get something, but hers was about $500, whereas mine was $55. So
yeah.
For me, this works really well.
Yeah, they do the job. So
But I started doing some graphics, as I said, using Sprite, and I've been doing it with the mouse for a while, so using this is something different. And I have to not hold it too much like a pen, because I'm always like really stiff in the hand, and after about 30 minutes of doing stuff, my hand gets crampy, so I just have to hold it lightly and get used to moving the whole hand and your arm sometimes, instead of just trying to push down like you would do writing.
Yep. Yeah, it's. I mean, there are, even though it is pressure sensitive tip, you don't need it for everything you're doing.
That's right. Yeah, it has 8,192 pressure levels, but it doesn't have a battery in there or anything. It works from the circuitry in the tablet through an inductance coil in the pen, which activates everything on there. And the pen's even got 2 programmable buttons on there, so I set one to erase, and I had one on brush as well, but I find it just easier to use the tablet pre-programmed buttons instead of, because sometimes I'll pick up the pen and I'll be drawing, I'm like, where is that button? Turn it around. Okay, got it. So it's just easier pressing the buttons on the thing. But some people are like, I don't want to use any of the buttons. I never use buttons on there. Everything I do is through the pen. But yeah, trying to find that thing when you twisted it around, picked it up slightly off is a bit annoying. But so I just use the other. You could use whichever you like. And yeah, it's really, really good. So if you're the artist kind and you want to do like paintbrush style, you can have an application like that. And I think Krita is one that can do that. And the harder you push down, the harder the ink, quote, ink, unquote, comes out. And you can also swish it around on an angle like a paintbrush and up on the end like a tip. So you get a little bit, and as you go to an angle, it spreads it out a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, I had early tablet a few years ago. Pretty low resolution in terms of, like, if you drew a diagonal line, you could kind of see it go down across, down across, down across, down across. It didn't actually draw a diagonal per se.
Yeah.
But because you could actually, it had a clear sheet over the front of it. You could lift the front up, and you could put a bit of paper on it with something you wanted to draw.
Yep.
And drop the sheet back down, and you could draw over the top of it, and it would like
Use it for tracing or something.
Yeah, it was all right for. I think this is 10 years ago, and it was $40 or $50 then. So
yeah,
probably a $3 one now.
They got a lot of different models and types. Of course, it's the company is Huion, Huoin, and the model I got is a 640p. They've got a 480p, which is smaller still, if you don't need to move around a lot. And then they got the really big, I think it's 1160, and it's the size of an A4 sheet of paper.
Mm.
How have things been going for you?
The weather's been all over the show. We're actually in the middle of getting the storms at the moment.
Did you actually get anything sorted with your insurance in the back shed?
Nope. Can't even get a hold of them at the moment. So, that's the thing. But at the moment, I've given up on that. I've got a few other things to worry about at the moment, so it's not really a priority.
Yep.
But it is annoying, though. Like, how hard is it, seriously?
The EV still going well?
Yeah, it's great.
That'll make me want one now.
Especially with, the advent of the higher fuel prices and everything.
Yeah.
Basically, it's almost the difference in the fuel bill is almost paying for the car now.
All right.
So, well, it is actually.
So I guess when you're just around home and you're buzzing around town to get groceries and stuff, you could even use that instead of using ICE car.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's what I say to a lot of people. Like, a lot of people have 3 or 4. A lot of families have 2 or 3 or 4 cars.
Yep.
It's like, well, you don't need to have. 3 of them just go to work and back.
Yeah.
They don't do anything else. You got your one main touring car that if you want to go away somewhere, you take that car.
I can't get an EV because it won't go 4,000 kilometres on a tank of fuel.
Yeah, exactly. But for the most part, if you run, you get used EVs, the cheaper ones that only have a couple 100k range, they're cheaper than the same price as a small car.
Hmm.
You get one of those, and you're pretty much set. That's the end of your bill, pretty much.
You don't have to worry about oil or gas or moving parts that need fixing and lubing and blah.
Yeah, and then people are like, "Oh, the new Tesla only does." I think actually the new one does 1,000 k's, but my Tesla only does 600 k's. I'm like, yeah, but you don't drive for 6 hours, do you?
No.
Like you might drive for 4, maybe 5, but you've got to stop, go to the toilet, get something to eat. And while you're doing that, you plug in, and by the time you come back, it's charged.
Yeah.
So
which is what you would be doing anyway, except you would be going there, fill up the car, park it over there, go have something to eat.
Exactly. And it costs you a lot more money.
Well, if you've got so much money that you enjoy spending it on fuel
Yeah. See,
and maintenance and what have you, sure, go ahead.
but hopefully we're getting this cold front should be coming through at the end of the week, so that'll be good.
Oh.
Because we've had like almost 30-degree days every day. Still.
Yep. The next couple of days we got 22 and then 23.
Yeah, I think we were 29 or something today and tomorrow, and then it's supposed to go down to like 24 or something.
Brr.
Bit of a change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I saw a picture somebody had put on, I think it was Reddit or something yesterday, and it was like Europeans, when it gets to 30 degrees and they're out there with nothing on, and Australians, when it gets to 30 degrees, wearing a jumper and a jacket. This isn't hot. What are you talking about? Or isn't it India at the moment is getting like 65-degree temperatures?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Nuts.
They had to invent new colours. We got up to purple. Now they've moved on to grey and white for the really high temperatures. And I see a lot of people not making it through that one, especially if you haven't got AC. I wouldn't leave the damn house.
Yeah, it's going to not end well for a lot of people.
No.
So,
Shall we do some news?
might as well.
Alrighty then. Security researchers have found that it's possible to conduct domain name system DNS poisoning attacks against Internet of Things devices, thanks to a bug in the popular UCLibc and UCLibc-NG standard C libraries. Although the bug was disclosed last year, it remains unpatched as the maintainer has not been able to develop a fix for it. An attacker can predict transaction IDs in DNS requests that the libraries generate, allowing DNS poisoning attacks that can be used to redirect traffic and spoof legitimate websites. An unknown number of devices are affected by the vulnerability, but Nozamai said it has been disclosed to over 200 vendors. According to their respective official websites, UCLibc is known to be used by major vendors such as Linksys, Netgear and Axis, or Linux distributions such as embedded Gentoo. UCLibc-NG is a fork specifically designed for OpenWRT, a common OS for routers, possibly deployed throughout various critical infrastructure sectors. Nozami researchers Giannis Tesarias and Andrea Palanca wrote, the Nozami researchers disclosed the vulnerability to the Computer Emergency Response Team CERT at the United States Government Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency in September last year. Carnegie Mellon's CERT Coordination Center invited the Nozami researchers to join their Vulnerability Information and Coordination Environment platform, through which the flaw was disclosed to vendors. They also contacted the maintainer of the open source project, who said he was unable to develop a fix for the bug. Nozami said that they won't disclose the exact devices that are vulnerable library implementations, as there's no fix for the bug yet. What do we always say, Mr. T? The S in IoT stands for security. There is none.
There can be, but the problem is people use so many, pre-rolled distros and ready-to-roll components that they just don't think about it.
Yep. She'll be right. Just sell a ton of stuff and make profit.
Well, yeah, that's that. But I mean, there's so much end-user stuff, like DIY stuff now as well.
Yep.
and so much of that is just, or I've done it myself. I install something with the default password, and go, I'll go back and change that, and you just don't.
No.
And then 3 years later, you go and log into your router, you're like, what's the password? And you go, look up default password for this router, and you're like, I wonder, and you type in, you're like,
Did work. I'll have to fix that sometime.
change that someday.
And off you go again. I know OpenWRT is very popular.
Yeah. It's like same with the routers, like the Wi-Fi passwords.
Yep.
You either have something that you remember and it's easy to tell people about.
Yep.
Or you've got 300 sticky notes stuck all over the house with it written down anyway. And it's like,
Well, like for my dad's TPG, they've got a standard one that they set it to, and he's 100 years old, so he's not going to change his once it's all set up, because then you have to change all the devices stuff. But and then friends of mine in Sydney had, I think it was Optus, and they have this ridiculous long password, mixed characters and stuff. That they have to leave it stuck on the fridge if anyone comes to visit, because they have to type in this long, complicated thing. And all I can think of is, dude, you're a IT type guy. You know how these things work. Can't you just change?
yeah, but I think I'm the same. I think what happened was I set my router up with the default Wi-Fi password because it's written on the side of the router. I'm like, I'll change that once I get this finished setting up. I'm like, I'm just going to add this device so I can do stuff. I'm just going to add this, and then, you want to watch a movie? Okay, I'll add that device, and I'll put my phone on Wi-Fi. The next thing you know, every device in the house was set up with that username and password. I'm like, I don't want to change it now because now I've got to go through and change it and every other device.
And then your visitors just have to hate you.
Yeah, pretty much. So
let me set up a guest Wi-Fi connection.
I can do that too, but
yeah,
I actually did that just to annoy somebody. They every time they'd come over, they'd like update their phone and stuff, and they'd just take all the network bandwidth. So yeah, I set up a guest one. And I limited the download speed to I think it was 500k or something.
Yeah, that'll fix you.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to be able to fix up my phone a lot faster at your place. What's going on?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no, must be a shit phone, man. Not my fault.
So this is interesting, this story, especially for people who, like myself, who use this. Samsung has released new endurance line of designed SSD and micro SSD cards designed to offer up to 16 years continuous recording. They offer read and write speeds of up to 100 meg per second and 40 meg respectively. The cards are class 10 and rated with video speed ratings of up to U3 and V30 for video. So a 256 gig model card can basically be used continuously for 140,000 hours.
Wow.
The Pro Endurance micro SD cards are also waterproof, dustproof, wearproof, and resistant to magnets, X-rays, and extreme temperatures. And available immediately with suggested retail ranging from $11 for 2 gig to $55 for 256 gig. So I've got surveillance cameras at work.
It'd be great for that.
Not only do they record locally onto the hard drive, they also all record locally onto their own SD card. And I kill SD cards about every 12 months.
Yep.
I put 256. Actually, I think we're using 128s. But yeah, I put those in there, and it only lasts about 12 months, and then they start getting corruption errors and stuff because the continual write cycles.
Yep.
But something like this would be perfect for that. Put it in, haven't got to worry, but it'll last the life of the camera. That's
fantastic.
So, and they're fairly well priced.
Time to go shopping, Mr. T.
Yeah.
Valve just published the updated Steam hardware software survey results for April 2022, providing a look at the Linux market share for April, among other interesting metrics. The April 2022 numbers have been of particular interest since it was the second full month since the Steam Deck began shipping to consumers and production ramping. Valve still hasn't been entirely clear about how Steam Deck will be treated in the Steam survey, if at all. So far, at least, in the Steam Deck haven't seen any. They haven't seen any Steam survey prompt or any other survey data changes correlating to Steam Deck software or hardware. Back for March 2022, Steam on Linux hit 1%. April 2022 coming in at a healthy 0.14% gain, bringing it up to 1.14. 1.14 is still off the 2% high seen in the early days of Steam on Linux as a percentage of user base, but considering the absolute user base gain since that point, it's likely a peak for Linux gaming in absolute numbers. In recent times, the peak for Steam on Linux market share was 1.16 back in November. Seeing a 0.14% bump over the course of the month may indicate the Steam Deck Steam OS 3 is being tracked as part of the survey, as there hasn't been any high-profile Linux native game releases the past month, or any direct attribute for the increase besides overall interest stemming from Steam Deck Steam OS. As for the individual Linux distributions reported in the Steam survey, it shows Ubuntu 20.04.4 LTS still out in front with an increase of 0.03%, Arch Linux with a 0.02% increase, and Manjaro Linux with a 0.01% increase. I think some people are picking for their desktop or laptop Linux distribution install the Steam OS one. I don't know what Manjaro is, but a lot of people have got it. Apparently, they like it. It's really popular.
I've seen a couple of YouTube videos, but I haven't played with it.
Can't be as good as Pop, though, right? Huh? Right?
I think Manjaro is more gaming orientated. It's
And Pop is a jack of all trades.
Pop's very, very good. It's just a fantastic all round. It does do games really well, but it's not specifically designed for games. It's just a very, very well-rounded OS.
And as we've found out, games run better on it than Windows does.
For the most part, yeah. In my case, at least, I don't have any games. I'm just trying to think. All the game. Well, at least all the games I've installed run the equivalent or better than they did on Windows.
Yep. You got no excuses anymore, people.
No, not really. And a lot of day-to-day programs run faster, like browsers load quicker, GIMP loads insanely fast. It loads up in like a second. Video editing stuff's quick. Like there's so many positives to it. There's a couple of little things, little niggly things, but really nothing. Certainly nothing that's a deal breaker.
I saw KDN Live got an update recently with about 300 changes and features and stuff.
Fair enough.
That's what we do this podcast with at the end of recording at KDN Live.
Yep. That's what you use.
I was using Shot and Mr. T goes, KDN Live, and I was like, all right, I'll give it okay, I won't do the Shot anymore.
Yeah, there's just something about it. It just works so well. I don't know why. It's technically no different than, it's using the same rendering platform and everything, but there's something about it that just works really, really well. So, but, yeah. Speaking of glory days of Microsoft, Microsoft 3D Movie Maker was initially launched in 1995.
Whoa!
The program allowed you to place 3D objects within environments to create films. The software looks dated now, but it was a fun way to play around with 3D effects back in the day. Now the classic program has been open sourced by Microsoft. It appears that 3D Movie Maker enthusiasts was able to convince Microsoft Scott Hanselman to open source the software by nerd sniping. The term refers to it when a person claims something cannot be done with the aim of someone proving them wrong. What's the best way to get something done? Nerd snipe an engineer and tell him he can't do it. I hate being told something like it can't be done, Microsoft Scott Hanselman said. So, yeah, the tweet was, hey, I've... where was it? Yeah, that was... his original tweet was, at Microsoft, give me the source code to 3D Movie Maker. You released it in 95 and I want to expand it and extend it. My DMs are open. I'll help you open source it. And then Scott Hasman's like, "Hey friends, we're open source the code to 95 Microsoft 3D Movie, thanks to and the Microsoft OSS Office as well."
All right, somebody get on Twitter and send a message to Microsoft. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you open source Windows 11 and Office 365? That would be pretty cool. Thanks.
Of course, Microsoft's 3D Movie Maker from 95 is out of support. In fact, may not even work on your PCs. The project is unlikely to build successfully under modern hardware, but you can get started with compilation and get partial completed binaries, explains the GitHub page. The files in GitHub repository for historical reference and will remain static going forward. Microsoft invites people to fork the repo and experiment with the code.
Someone's
So-
going to have it up and running in a couple of weeks on every device in the world.
Yeah, well, since that went up, when that article go up? That was on May 4th. That they tweeted that they open sourced it,
May the 4th be with you.
and it's already running on. Yeah, they've already got it running on certain applications already.
Yeah.
I think Linux is one of them.
Sweet.
So, yeah, so Windows Movie Maker is running on Linux.
Do they have to call it Linux Movie Maker now?
It was such a bad program. It was great.
Everybody used it.
Yeah, they used it, and then later on they dropped the whole 3D side of it and just became a basic video editing program.
Yep. A lot of people use that instead of paying for...
I did.
Expensive.
I use that. You look on my YouTube videos, just about all of them up until, I don't know, whenever they stopped support for it in Windows 7. Even in Windows 7 you could get it. It's once I switched out to Windows 7.
Yep. Well, if we're going to talk about Microsoft, speaking of Microsoft, it's a secret segue, very smooth. Microsoft in late 2020 announced Direct Storage as a new API in the DirectX family focused on delivering faster I/O performance for games to yield quicker game load times and more expansive virtual worlds. So what basically happens is you can have a huge open world and you don't go for a while and then stop and then it says loading next part, tell you a few...
If you ever play Minecraft, basically, especially if you're flying, you fly faster than chunks can load
Yeah.
and you end up in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So if you're playing something like World of Warcraft, you don't have to wait for it to teleport through zones. Everything is just seamless. After being a limited developer preview since last year, Microsoft is making Direct Storage API broadly available. This news isn't directly relevant to Linux gamers, but it's interesting tech and it'll be interesting to see if when there's work on emulating or wrapping this API around Linux interfaces for use by Steam Play. The Direct Storage API includes a new programming model for DirectX 12 style batched I/O, GPU, accelerated decompression, and various storage stack optimizations aimed for speedy NVMe disk performance. Games must explicitly use the Direct Storage API, but in doing so should yield significantly quicker game load times and allow for heavier I/O usage, such as for larger maps and textures, without hurting the system performance. It'll be interesting to see if Steam Play and or Wine aims to provide a compatibility implementation of Direct Storage. Mapping the new Storage API to I/O U-Ring might be possible for more efficient I/O handling, and the GPU decompression seems like it should be workable to implement atop Vulkan. Linux's storage stack itself is constantly improving, as we frequently report on, with new per-core IOPS records being frequently set. It's also worth noting that, at least for now, Direct Storage only supports reads and not disk writes. Those wishing to learn more about the Direct Storage API that's now publicly available can do so via the Microsoft developer blog. Faster loading of stuff and bigger, better games.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? We've all got faster hard drives now, but the games aren't necessarily coded to take advantage of it. A lot of them are hard-coded with a specific load time regardless.
Yep.
So
They all think they're going to be running off HDD because you've got to go with the lowest common denominator.
instead of being dynamic and able to change.
Yep.
Can't have that.
No, what's up with that? That's it for me. How are you doing?
One quick one. the stuff that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, several Hollywood studios announced the immediate suspension of new releases in Russia. Unexpectedly, well, for them, but not really if you're Russian. Some Russian theaters are still able to show movies such as The Batman on big screen, but this isn't down to the studios. The movies are sourced from illegal torrent sites, and few of them seem to afraid to admit it.
I was actually going to jokingly say maybe they're getting it from torrents.
Yeah. Dozens of countries have implemented unprecedented sanctions. Where are we?
We've got to see the new Batman.
Companies such as Netflix, Spotify, Hollywood Studios, Paramount, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Sony have all blocked releases in Russia. So, Russia's Association of Cinema Owners issued a powerful statement representing 700 cinemas and 2,600 screens across the country. The group said the collapse of the entire film industry was on the horizon. We expressed concern about the high probability of liquidation of the entire film industry in the country in the context of the introduction of the large-scale and unprecedented sanctions. Unfortunately, the quantity and quality of Russian films released to the public does not meet the full demand of cinemas for content. Funny that. Yeah. In addition, the release of some Russian films, for reasons unknown to us, have been postponed from next or completely cancelled, despite the fact that these films received state approval. With predictions of 80% loss in revenue, the association called on the Ministry of Culture to offer assistance. But in the meantime, some cinemas have been taking drastic actions into their own hands.
Well, I mean, we saw the Russian version of Itchy and Scratchy cartoon one time.
Yeah.
And what was Krusty say at the end of it? What the hell was that?
Yeah. Yeah. A special event that featured the Batman movie. Tickets cost around 500 rubles, which is $7. With the organisers framing the screening as an art performance with artistic commentary on Hollywood's departure from the Russian market.
We got a free torrent, and we charge you $7 to watch it.
The source of the movie was unofficial, of course. The pirated copy, complete with Russian dub, was downloaded from an unnamed torrent site utilizing the same or similar source. Additional movie screenings took place at several other venues, including the Granvik Cinema. At the end of the time of writing, the cinema is still allowing customers to book online to watch pirated movies, including the Batman, which has 5 performances today alone.
And in the bottom right corner is a watermark ripped by XOR.
Cinema industry condemnation. The illegal public demonstration of pirated or rather stolen copies of films in cinemas takes the Russian cinema business out of the legal arena and turns us to the dark days of the illegal business of the 1990s. Well, I'm also fairly sure it's illegal to break a contract with a company just because you don't want to give them something. I mean, that's why they start up. They have contracts with movie theaters. They pay them a lot of money to get, prioritized release on movies.
Yep. Well, I guess it's up to them to try and fight them.
As far as I'm concerned, they already paid their dues.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Email us wheelerwarlock@aussietechheads.com.au and go to aussietechradio.com, 24/7 playback of tech-related shows. See you next time.
Bye.